What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well and having a good weekend. This video essentially is going to be talking about drone woes and drone issues and just some of the things that come along with flying drones. So right now we have an Evo 2 Pro 6K, roughly what, $2,000. We got an Evo 2 Pro 6K Enterprise, roughly $3,500. We have an Inspire 2 in my other room, roughly $6,000 to $10,000 with everything included. I have a Nano Plus that's coming back to me tomorrow from service. So there's that. I have a Mavic 3 that's coming back to me. I ordered a regular one, not the Cine. So yeah, I did actually jump gun and get another Mavic 3. But regardless of all of the things that we have with each drone, the bottom line is they all can have some kind of problem, whether it's DJI, whether it's Autel. For whatever reason, this Mini 2 is probably my most favorite drone, literally out of anything I fly. I don't know why. I think it's because it simply works well and it's fun and it's just not a headache. Right now I have my Evo 2 Pro 6K, for example, having a flicker issue. So for whatever reason, I'm in all kinds of manual settings, manual ISO, manual white balance, manual exposure, don't have the anti-flicker. I reset camera settings. I've done all kinds of troubleshooting things. I've used ND filters. I've shot with my gimbal pointed down, up in different kind of lighting conditions, and it still is giving me this flicker issue, which just seemed to kind of appear out of nowhere, which is bizarre because I flew it all last year basically with no issues. And I sent it into Autel, for example, and they just supposedly swapped out the camera on this drone. And the first day out, I had a little job yesterday, and it was doing the exact same thing as if nothing actually was fixed. So again, basically $1,800, $2,000, great drone, but it's giving me problems and it's causing me a big headache. And now I still got to sort this out. So even if I wanted to sell this guy, for example, I can't, because I can't sell someone a drone that isn't flying the right way, because that's not cool, and I wouldn't do that. But so far the Enterprise seems to be really solid. It's a beautiful drone. I haven't had a ton of time to fly it because obviously, well, not obviously, but our weather has been pretty lousy here. So other than doing little flights here and there, it's been very cold out. With that being said, something like the Mini 2 works out great because it's easy to fly. I can launch it from my car. It's not big. I actually loved, people probably don't like, and that was one of the things when I flew my Cine. I actually do really, really love this controller. Maybe because I had so much time with it, with the Mavic Air 2 and the Air 2S, and I don't know, I just feel really good with this controller. So that's why, for those who are doubting that I had the stupid RC Pro at my Cine, that's why I took this thing out the first flight, because I really, really, really like this controller. And that's me. So kind of why I got another Mavic 3 is because I really enjoy using this controller. And the Mavic 3 will have this controller. I won't opt for the RC Pro. Maybe I will one day, but for now, I'm gonna rock out this guy. But for whatever reason, the Mini 2 just is super fun, super reliable, and that's awesome. But kind of the point of this video is that every drone is going to have pros and cons to it, right? Like everything in life. So we have Autel as one manufacturer. We have DJI as another manufacturer. I had my Mavic 3 Cine basically fly away on me. Regardless, they gave me my money back. But that was a major headache with DJI, with one of their latest, greatest drones. I have a headache right now with my Autel. You know, I mean, there's always something. I've heard people say that they've had issues, you know, whether it's the Mavic 3 with the disconnect, maybe not having their pro settings or manual settings with a 7x zoom and firmware things that are preventing them from flying it like a pro. So every drone has some kind of hiccup, something that's not perfect. And at the end of the day, it's really up to you to make the best decision. So don't, regardless of YouTubers or influencers or people or friends or whatever it may be, whatever gets the job done and makes you happy is really the right drone for you. So for me, yeah, obviously you do need more than a Mini 2, but the Mini 2 does really well. And the footage in the beginning of the video was some footage I shot over the last couple days and even sunset last night. And as you see, it's pretty darn good. So 4K, 24 frames a second, for example, you have the right filters on, you fly right, and you know how to expose right, and then you know how to do little color grading and post work. You can really make the footage in this guy shine and probably stoke a lot of people out and get work if you really had to. But I don't know. I mean, essentially, my Inspire 2, for example, that's a big size pro cinematic drone, but to take that out and get a quick sunset is not going to be something I want to do right now when it's 0 degrees out and windy. I'm not going to go ahead and take my Inspire 2 and go through that whole ordeal of getting that thing set up for a flight that isn't really major, because the risk is just not worth the reward, essentially. The bottom line is each drone will have pros and cons. So again, this was really, really great until the flicker issue. My Evo 2 Pro Standard, I had really no issues. I made a lot of money with it last year, did some good jobs, and it really, really was a workhorse. But for whatever reason, it's doing this flicker issue. So now this has become kind of a pain in the butt. I really don't even almost want it right now, but I gotta fix it somehow before I sell it or before I can use it again reliably. So this is a little bit of a pain. The Enterprise new drone, I haven't really spent a ton of time. The Mavic 3, still kind of a pain in the butt drone because it still has some issues with it. So I would say the Mavic 3 is, you know, I don't know. It's probably a good drone, but at the same time, the Air 2, for example, or the Air 2S, probably more rock solid than the Mavic 3. The Mavic 2 Pro, another great choice. That thing is really rock solid. The Mavic 2 Zoom even. So I personally think DJI and a lot of the manufacturers right now, that Nano Plus has become a pain in the butt. So a lot of these newer drones really do have a lot of issues. And do you really want to deal with all that? Because then, guess what? It doesn't become fun anymore. It becomes work and a pain in the ass. And that's not what we got into this thing for. I mean, yeah, we all like the geek part of it and tinkering and figuring stuff out because that's how you learn your equipment and drones. But to do it to where you don't have confidence flying, or you're worried about breaking a connection to your controller and your phone or your tablet, that's not cool either. So really, in my opinion, the drones that are rock solid stable, Mini 2, Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom, maybe the Evo 2 Pro, but at the same time, there's been issues with this, so I can't confidently say that right now for the Evo 2 Pro. The Enterprise, as I said, don't really have a ton of time with this drone. It seems to be a really beautiful bird for, you know, for that. I mean, it's awesome looking, looks great. There's a little display, but of course we want to fly them. But I'll have more time with this, and I'm hoping this doesn't give me a flicker issue either. So I don't know. I guess the point of this is that every drone and every manufacturer has good and bad associated with them. And don't get caught up in having the latest and greatest, because the latest isn't always the greatest, as a lot of people are finding out. So people are jumping with the Nanos and the Nano Pluses. There's all kinds of hiccups with that, gimbal issues, firmware issues, jello issues. I crashed mine, which blew, but at the same time, I wasn't really impressed with it when I flew it. So it was kind of a cool little drone, but it did not feel like the Mini 2. I didn't really test the footage and the camera quality, but I will next week when I get it back tomorrow. But I probably will end up selling the Nano Plus just because I don't want to have to mess around with troubleshooting and basically beta testing these drones, kind of like the Mavic 3 was, or that's how it felt at least. So I'm hoping I can get on top of my Evo 2 Pro Standard, get that flicker issue sorted so I can get this thing back in rotation and be a reliable, stable drone. Mini 2, always an amazing drone to fly to get any kind of footage. And all you guys who still have your Mavic 2 Pros and Mavic 2 Zooms, those of course are reliable drones. And the Mavic 3 should have been much more stable than it was. They had more than enough time to get that drone released and firmware pimped out and all kinds of good stuff. That thing should have came out swinging, and it didn't. Like a lot of people said, it came out half-baked. Regardless of what anyone wants to say, my drone flew away from me. It crashed into a building. I had a total disconnect. The home point didn't update properly. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. And again, just for those who were kind of questioning that, DJI looked at all my logs. They refunded me $5,600. So they don't just do that if they know something else wasn't up. So basically the point of that is that some of these newer drones are not probably the best investment for you if you're wanting to have peace of mind and just the ability to fly and have fun. So buy something like a Mini 2, buy something like a Mavic 2 Pro that you can probably pick up really inexpensively. Pick up something maybe like an Autel, maybe the Light Pluses, I guess, supposedly seem pretty stable, but still that Sky app is going to be new. Their firmware is still getting updated. Maybe give that one a little bit more time. And that's kind of about it. I just wanted to touch on the fact that all these drones and all these drone manufacturers have issues with them, pros and cons, just like anything in life. And people who are bashing Autel or saying their service sucks, believe me, DJI has crappy service a lot of times too. I know Autel is probably doing their best. Maybe it's not the best with everyone all the time, but DJI has had really crap customer service. That was one of the big reasons I switched to Autel in the beginning, was because I was so tired with DJI's customer support. And Autel's been pretty darn good in my experiences so far. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get in touch with them. A lot of people who aren't familiar, just go ahead and send an email to support@autelrobotics.com, and that's going to be the best way to get in touch with anyone. That's going to generate a ticket for you guys, and they will contact you via email. If you do call, it will generate an email, and they should give you a call back as well or respond through the email. You can also go to auteldrones.com, and you can go ahead and start the chat. They have an online chat feature. But for me, what works well, calling. You can call maybe a few times a day if you really want to speak to someone, and most likely you will get through to someone, because a lot of times they have now that automated system stating that they're basically overwhelmed and they're not answering the phones, to go ahead and reach out via chat online or through email. But if you do call later on in the day, a lot of times they'll turn that message off and you will be able to get in touch with someone. So they all are doing their best. I mean, even DJI, honestly, for them to go ahead and do right and refund me my money, they were kind of standing by my side, and I had one of the representatives, one of the managers, kind of hand-holding me through the process. They were able to recover my footage, so I will give a shout out to DJI on that regard, because they did. They helped me out. They recovered my footage. They kind of did what they needed to do. They credited me my money. Regardless, it took way too long. I guess everyone is doing the best that they can do, and that's all we all can do at the end of the day. So, you know, we can't be too hard on anyone. I wouldn't say leave Autel because of their service, or leave DJI because of their service or product, because guess what? Autel has flyaways, DJI has flyaways. There's disconnects with Autel, there's disconnects with DJI, there's issues with every drone manufacturer across the board. It's just part of the deal, nature of the beast kind of stuff. So try to give them a little bit of patience, but certain things like, again, a disconnect or just stuff that's really blatantly stupid really kind of isn't fun for anyone. And that's the thing. You just want to choose a drone that is reliable and stable, and the newer drones most likely aren't going to be that. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what drones you find most reliable. I've seen some people stating that if they have a job, they go and revert to their Mavic 2 Pro, for example, over their Mavic 3s or even their Autel Evo 2 Pro 6Ks. So let me know what you think is your most stable drone, the drone you enjoy most, maybe the drone you have the most fun with. Personally, I think the Mini 2 is just an amazing little drone, especially for the money. If I were honestly going to buy a drone, like a 249-gram drone, I would not be buying a Nano or a Nano Plus. Sorry, Autel, it's not anything negative or trying to hate on you guys. It's a cool little drone, but right now, the Mini 2 is rock solid, rock stable, produces really, really good footage. You can shoot this thing and get quality content, good enough to print, do all kinds of stuff. And maybe one day the Nano will get there. Maybe the Nano Plus 2 or whatever it may be will be like the Mini 2. The Mini 1, for example, was a pretty lame drone. It was a good start, but at the same time it was on Wi-Fi. There was no OcuSync. It just was not really that great of an image quality. So this thing is much, much more revised. I'm sure when the Mini 3 launches, it's going to be super amazing rock star, and I can't wait because the Mini 2 is, as I said, my favorite little drone out of 2 Evo 2 Pros, an Inspire 2, a Mavic 3. The Mavic Air 2 was a really cool drone for me. I almost like the Mavic Air 2 more than the Air 2S, honestly. And the Mavic 2 Zoom was a great drone. The Mavic 2 Pro was a great drone as well. So there's no reason to hate on any one. I mean, they all have something to offer and bring to the table. If I am gonna go out and fly, sometimes you want variety. Sometimes I really love flying my Autel. I wanna have this experience. Sometimes I wanna have a little bit slicker Autel, and I'll bring the Enterprise out. I haven't had a ton of time, as I said, with this, so I don't have a lot of experience to why I would wanna fly the Enterprise. But the Mavic 3 was a fun drone to fly too. That's why I got another one coming. And they all kind of have their different nuances and flight characteristics. And, you know, I mean, Mavic 3 really flies extremely well. It's super nimble and responsive. These are not that nimble and responsive. These, to me, are more like a school bus in the sky. So just kind of cruising. But they do fly well. And there's a pro to that too, is if you want to fly more cinematically and slower, having a bigger drone that doesn't fly super fast and kind of, you know, zipping all over the place can actually do well and work in your favor. So that's one of the advantages of having this bigger kind of school bus type feel when you're flying an Evo 2 Pro, for example. So essentially, to wrap this up, pros and cons to each drone manufacturer, customer service, each remote control, each app to the drone. So you got the Sky app, you got the Fly app, you got the Go4 app, you got the Autel Explorer app. Each one of them has something good and bad that you're gonna like more in each of them. So if any of this helped, hit the thumbs up button. It will really help out the channel, trying to grow this thing in a nice, healthy way. Subscribe if you haven't, hit the notification bell if you'd wanna see future videos pop on your newsfeed. And that's it, guys. Aloha, shoots. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.